Welcome to the deep dive, where we cut through the noise and get straight to the essential insights you need to be truly well informed. Today, we're diving headfirst into a topic that's not just on everyone's mind, but actively shaping our future. The dizzying pace of change driven by technology, specifically artificial intelligence, and its profound impact on the job market. It's a seismic shift, really. I mean, the World Economic Forum's Future of Jobs Report 2025 projects that a staggering 39% of existing skill sets will be transformed or even, outdated by 2030. That's nearly two-fifths of skills in just a few short years. It's kind of mind-boggling when you think about it, but here's the kicker. We're not here to paint a picture of doom and gloom. Not at all. Instead, we're framing this as a massive opportunity, a chance for proactive preparation. So the core question for this deep dive is, how do we equip the next generation to not just survive, but truly flourish in this rapidly evolving landscape? We're going to unpack the irreplaceable human elements that AI simply cannot replicate, and crucially, how we can cultivate them from a young age. This deep dive is basically your shortcut to being well informed on this absolutely vital topic. Our primary source for today's exploration is a fantastic guide for parents and guardians, which lays out an actionable, habit-based, and long-term approach for children aged 7 through adolescence. So, okay, let's unpack this. What exactly are these unique human capabilities that stand out in this new era?
Yeah, it's really something how rapidly the global labor market is transforming. As you pointed out, the accelerating pace of tech change, especially AI integration, it's fundamentally shifting the skills landscape. What's valued today might, well, quite quickly become obsolete tomorrow. It's a real challenge. And we're already seeing AI demonstrate these, frankly, unparalleled capabilities in processing vast amounts of data, right? Recognizing complex patterns that would take us humans ages to spot. And of course, executing repetitive tasks with just remarkable efficiency. These are definitely areas where AI shines, bringing incredible speed and scale, no doubt about it. However, and this is the key point, despite AI's impressive strengths, there remains a distinct set of fundamental human capabilities. These capabilities lie entirely beyond the reach of even the most sophisticated algorithms. They are the truly irreplaceable human elements, and these are what will enable individuals to not just, survive, but to truly flourish in the coming decades. The key isn't really to compete head-on with intelligent machines. That's probably a losing battle in some areas. It's more about complementing them. Future success will increasingly demand individuals who can effectively integrate AI tools into their workflows, while at the same time amplifying these distinct human advantages. The enduring human advantage stems from this very complementarity, where human strengths fill the critical gaps left by AI's limitations. So this deep dive is really about identifying and, more importantly, cultivating these unique human elements. Because knowledge is most valuable when it's understood and actually applied. And what's fascinating here is that the guide we're exploring identifies specific core concepts, truly defining what makes us uniquely human in this new era.
That's a powerful way to frame it, not competition, but complementarity. That makes a lot more sense. So let's dive into these four core, irreplaceable human capabilities that the guide identifies as, paramount for success and well-being. First up, a capability that truly gets to the heart of what it means to be human, emotional intelligence. We often hear about soft skills, right? But this guide argues it's far more fundamental than that. So what exactly is EI, Anna Braga? I guess, why can't AI really crack its code?
Right, emotional intelligence, or EI. It's a really multifaceted capability. It involves understanding, managing, and expressing your own emotions. And just as importantly, recognizing, interpreting, and influencing the emotions of others. It's truly the cornerstone for building genuine relationships, for fostering trust, and just navigating the incredibly intricate dynamics of human interaction. And this is precisely why AI fundamentally fails to replicate it. It just can't. I mean, sure, AI can, for instance, analyze sentiment in text or recognize facial expressions, maybe even mimic emotional responses to some degree. But it completely lacks true emotional understanding, consciousness, and the capacity to actually feel. That's the core difference. It simply cannot respond with authentic empathy or genuinely comprehend the nuanced emotional needs of individuals. It doesn't get it. Think about it. An AI operates based on programmed algorithms and, predefined data parameters. It can't perceive context beyond these definitions. It can't make decisions rooted in intuition, emotional understanding, or those complex relational dynamics. Like, take your performance review example. An AI could generate a perfectly logical review based on metrics, right?
Yeah, very data-driven.
Exactly. But without the emotional intelligence of a human leading that conversation, it could feel incredibly cold, impersonal. It might even lead to a breakdown in trust, actually. AI just cannot build or sustain the high-quality human connections that are essential for both individual and collective thriving. That remains exclusively within the human domain. And there's more to it. Humans with high EI, they possess this unique ability to manage stress, maintain focus when things are uncertain, and cultivate a growth mindset where failures aren't just failures, they're seen as opportunities for learning and development. Machines, well, being devoid of emotions, they can't adapt based on emotive experiences. They can't develop this profound capacity for growth. So the real deep dive here, maybe the crux of it, is that in an AI-driven world where data dictates so much, EI becomes our ethical compass, our GPS. It's the critical human firewall ensuring technology truly serves us, not the other way around.
That's a powerful distinction. The cold, impersonal AI review versus a human one, it really highlights the difference. Can you think of a situation where AI's attempt at emotional understanding might actually, backfire badly, create more problems than it solves?
Oh, absolutely. That's a great point. Imagine an AI designed for customer support, or maybe even a kind of automated therapy bot. While it might be programmed to detect keywords or vocal inflections linked to distress and respond with, pre-written soothing phrases, it utterly lacks the capacity to genuinely feel or understand the depth of that distress. So if a person is going through a profound loss or a serious crisis, an AI's perfectly logical, data-driven response, however well-intentioned the programming, could come across as completely tone-deaf or even dismissive. It could make things worse.
Like getting a generic greeting card message when you need real comfort.
Exactly. It's the difference between a meticulously crafted, comforting script and a genuine hug, or just a shared moment of silent understanding. The AI might provide information, sure, but it cannot provide true comfort or connection, not in the human sense. In those moments, its very attempt at mimicking humanity could actually alienate someone rather than help. It just highlights the irreplaceable nature of genuine human connection. So yeah, EI is our anchor in this sea of algorithms.
Okay, that really clarifies the limits of AI there. So EI is fundamental. But speaking of that data deluge you mentioned, how do we make sense of it all, especially when AI can generate so much noise alongside the signal? The guide points to critical thinking as the antidote to information overload. That sounds crucial. How does critical thinking help us cut through the noise, and where does AI fall short here?
Right, critical thinking. It's about the rigorous analysis of information, the careful evaluation of situations, making strategic decisions, and tackling ambiguous challenges. And yes, it is often described as the antidote to information overload in our increasingly data-saturated world. It's how we navigate complexity. AI's limitations in replicating true critical thinking are quite, well, evident when you look closely. AI excels at solving well-defined problems with clear parameters. Think crunching numbers in vast spreadsheets or finding specific patterns in massive data sets. It's brilliant at that.
Predictable stuff.
Exactly. But human brains remain superior at addressing ambiguous challenges. The messy problems that demand contextual understanding and often really innovative approaches. AI, for instance, really struggles to discern connections between seemingly unrelated concepts or to fully grasp subtle cultural nuances that are often vital for real-world decision-making. It lacks that sort of contextual flexibility. And furthermore, research has highlighted this fascinating and frankly somewhat concerning phenomenon. An over-reliance on AI tools can lead to a decline in our own critical thinking skills. Researchers call it cognitive offloading.
Cognitive offloading, like we just stop using those mental muscles.
Precisely. It happens because individuals, perhaps overly confident in AI's capabilities, might start to disengage their own mental faculties. They let the machine do the heavy lifting, mentally speaking. And this can lead to an atrophy of independent problem-solving abilities. It's a use-it-or-lose-it situation, potentially. Studies have even shown that users who frequently delegate cognitive tasks to AI tend to produce a less diverse set of outcomes for the same task compared to those who don't use AI.
Wow, so it actually makes our thinking more uniform, less original.
It seems that way. It illustrates how human critical thinking actively fosters originality and varied solutions, whereas AI, by its nature of working with existing data and patterns, can sometimes lead to more homogenized results. And there's another crucial point. AI algorithms, if they're left unchecked, can inadvertently replicate and even amplify existing biases or imperfections present in the data they were trained on.
Right, the whole garbage in, garbage out problem, but amplified.
Exactly. So emotionally intelligent individuals with strong critical thinking skills are indispensable here. They're needed for asking the right questions, sensing those nuanced ethical concerns, and ensuring careful scrutiny throughout the design and application of AI systems. They're the ones who can detect when an AI output might be flawed, biased, or just incomplete. You could think of it this way. AI is an incredible co-pilot, fantastic tool. But if you let it fly the plane entirely, you might forget how to navigate yourself.
That's a good analogy.
This cognitive offloading isn't just a risk. It's really a call to arms for our own mental agility. We need to stay sharp. Therefore, the deliberate cultivation of critical thinking isn't merely beneficial. It serves as a crucial protective measure against the potential cognitive costs associated with an AI-driven world. And formal education, in particular, plays a significant role here, equipping individuals with strategies to critically assess AI-generated information rather than just accepting it uncritically.
That's a bit unsettling, that the tools designed to help us could potentially dull our own minds if we're not careful. But is there a way to use AI that actually enhances our critical thinking? Maybe by forcing us to question its outputs more rigorously rather than just passively accepting them?
That's an excellent question, and it points towards a more, let's say, symbiotic future. Yes, absolutely. One strategy is to use AI not as a final answer generator, but as a provocateur, a thinking partner. So instead of asking AI for the solution, ask it for multiple solutions, maybe even contradictory ones. Then you critically evaluate its reasoning.
Ah, so make the AI defend itself, in a way.
Exactly. If you're researching a topic, ask AI for information, sure, but then immediately challenge it. Okay, what are the counterarguments to this point? Or what assumptions did you make in generating this response?
Yeah.
This forces you to engage in a deeper analysis of the AI's output. You start looking for its blind spots, its biases, or rather the inherent biases in the data it was trained on and its limitations. You're essentially using AI as a sparring partner for your own mind, pushing yourself to refine your arguments, broaden your perspective. It can be a very active process.
I like that AI as a sparring partner. That flips the script from passive acceptance to active engagement.
It does. And this raises that important question about how we interact with these powerful tools. It's not just if we use them, but how. But critical thinking isn't just about analysis, right? It's also about pushing boundaries, imagining new things. So how does creativity fit into this picture?
It's fascinating how the convenience of AI can have that downside if we're not careful, but also how we can potentially flip that to our advantage.
Good point. Now let's talk about imagination and new ideas. The guide brings up creative innovation, moving beyond just art to things like business strategy. Where does true human creativity shine, especially compared to AI, and how does automation actually play a role in that? Does it help or hinder?
Right, true creativity. It involves the capacity to imagine something entirely new, something genuinely novel, to challenge conventional wisdom, introduce fresh perspectives. And as you said, this isn't just about painting or composing music, though it includes those. It extends to innovative approaches in business strategy, developing new products, improving processes. AI's capabilities and creativity are, well, largely limited to recombining existing elements or generating variations on established themes.
Like remixing existing songs versus composing something totally new from scratch. That's a great way to put it. An AI can produce countless images in a certain artist's style, or generate variations on a marketing slogan based on input data. However, true breakthrough innovation often requires that uniquely human capacity for original thought, the ability to conceive of something truly novel that hasn't existed before. A leap. AI struggles to bridge that conceptual gap between the what if, the realm of pure imagination, and the how-to, the practical steps needed to implement that imaginative leap. And automation, by its very nature, often involves standardizing inputs and outputs for efficiency.
Which sounds like the opposite of creativity sometimes.
It can be, in certain contexts. While standardization brings efficiency, it can inadvertently stifle creativity in some parts of a process by removing opportunities for spontaneous experimentation and discovery. Think about, say, automated paint production. It's definitely improved quality and consistency, which is great, but it has also, in a way, maybe obscured the potential for experimentation inherent in the manual creation of pigments, where a human might stumble upon a new color or texture purely by chance, by accident. However, and this is incredibly important, automation is also highly effective at reducing repetitive, tedious digital work.
The boring stuff.
Exactly. The tasks that often underutilize human talent and potential. By automating these basic, often clerical jobs, AI actually frees humans to focus on higher-level, more complex creative endeavors. Things like illustrating intricate graphics, navigating complex workplace incidents that require nuanced judgment and creative problem-solving, or designing entirely new products and services. So the evidence suggests that automation doesn't necessarily destroy creativity, but rather shifts its focus. It represents this transformative trend where jobs susceptible to error, requiring only basic ingenuity, are increasingly automated, thereby creating new roles that demand higher-level creative problem-solving and ideation from humans. We move up the value chain, so to speak. The real takeaway then is that future success will likely depend on leveraging AI for efficiency, which in turn can unlock and amplify greater human creative potential. It allows individuals to move from mere execution to deeper conceptualization and novel problem solving.
That's a really powerful reframing. AI is the assistant that handles the grunt work, freeing us up for the truly imaginative leaps. It sounds like AI can truly amplify our creative potential then, not replace it.
Precisely. Amplify, not replace. That's the goal.
And in a world that's shifting so fast, as we've said, that ability to adapt, to work with others on these complex creative problems seems absolutely essential, doesn't it?
Absolutely critical. This brings us to the fourth capability, adaptability and collaboration. Adaptability is defined as the ability to quickly master new tools and methodologies, viewing change not as a threat, but genuinely as an opportunity for growth. Collaboration, on the other hand, involves working effectively with others, building genuine relationships, and skillfully navigating complex interpersonal dynamics within a team or group setting. Now, AI faces significant limitations in replicating these inherently human traits. While AI can process vast amounts of data, as we know, it struggles with the flexible thinking required to adapt solutions to unique, unforeseen circumstances. The curveballs life throws at us.
Things that aren't in the training data.
Exactly. Humans uniquely possess this distinct capacity to respond dynamically and intuitively to emergent situations where there isn't a predefined rule book. We improvise, we adjust, and true collaboration relies so heavily on genuine relationships, mutual trust, and the ability to understand and navigate complex human emotions and motivations. AI cannot authentically connect with individuals or build the kind of trust that is essential for true team synergy.
It can schedule a meeting, but it can't build rapport in that meeting.
Perfect way to put it. It can facilitate communication, yes, but it can't build rapport or mediate a deep interpersonal conflict with genuine understanding. Furthermore, the rapid pace of change in the modern world necessitates continuous adaptation and a deep commitment to lifelong learning. This cognitive flexibility, the intrinsic capacity to learn, unlearn, and relearn, is a uniquely human strength that AI cannot replicate in its essence. AI can be updated with new data, but it doesn't learn in the human sense of internalizing experiences and flexibly applying that learning across vastly different domains.
That learning, unlearning, relearning cycle feels very human.
It is. And the current speed of change is so rapid that skills in demand today may literally become obsolete tomorrow. It's quite startling. This means that adaptability and learning agility are not merely important skills, they are more like meta skills. They enable individuals to continuously acquire and reacquire other necessary competencies. Without a high degree of adaptability, even highly specialized skills quickly lose their relevance. Collaboration then becomes the indispensable mechanism for collective adaptation and innovation. It allows groups of humans to navigate and thrive within complex dynamic environments by pooling their unique, adaptable intelligences.
So they're almost two sides of the same coin, adapting individually and collaborating to adapt collectively.
Beautifully put, yes. These aren't just skills, but the very mechanisms by which humans collectively thrive and innovate, especially in times of rapid change. So, okay, we've outlined these four critical human capabilities: emotional intelligence, critical thinking, creative innovation, and adaptability and collaboration. But before we dive into how to foster them, particularly in children, what's the fundamental groundwork needed? What's the soil these skills need to grow in?
That's a great lead-in. It's clear that these human capabilities are absolutely non-negotiable for the future. And you're right, before diving into the specifics of skill development, the guide emphasizes the paramount role of holistic well-being. It's not just presented as beneficial, it's framed as the essential prerequisite for all other learning and growth. You need that foundation first. So where do we start with building this foundation? The guide makes a really strong case for physical health. Why is physical activity so crucial for brain development and learning beyond just general fitness?
Indeed, establishing that strong foundation of holistic well-being is absolutely paramount. You can't build a strong house on shaky ground, right? Physical and mental health are not just nice-to-haves or add-ons. They are the essential prerequisites that enable all of their learning, growth, and the successful cultivation of these irreplaceable human capabilities we've been discussing. And when we talk about physical health, its influence on cognitive functions, especially in children, is profound. It's not just about muscles and endurance. Research consistently indicates that regular participation in physical activity significantly enhances executive functioning.
Executive functioning.
Yeah.
That's things like memory and focus.
Yes, exactly. It includes crucial abilities like working memory, cognitive flexibility, the ability to switch between tasks, and inhibitory control. It also improves attention, concentration, processing speed, and overall academic achievement. So this goes far beyond just general fitness. Physical activity directly serves as a cognitive catalyst. It literally optimizes the brain for learning. The mechanisms behind this link are deeply rooted in brain physiology. For instance, cardiovascular activities, running, dancing, swimming, anything that gets the heart rate up. Increased blood flow and oxygen to the brain, which directly improves overall brain function. More fuel for the engine. Similarly, engaging in motor skill activities, things like playing sports, building with blocks, even learning to ride a bike contribute to enhanced concentration, attention, working memory, and even verbal learning. And there's more. Physical activity has been shown to boost levels of crucial brain chemicals, things like neurotrophins, which optimize brain health and development. This creates a direct causal link between staying active and specific cognitive improvements, including aspects of IQ, attention, and those executive functions.
Wow, so exercise is literally building a better brain for learning.
That's a great way to summarize it. Therefore, physical health isn't a separate domain. It's a fundamental prerequisite and an accelerator for intellectual and emotional development. Integrating regular physical activity is thus a foundational strategy for skill acquisition, not merely a lifestyle choice for physical health alone. And the guide provides some clear, actionable habit examples for children and parents here. First, regular physical activity. Encourage children to get at least 60 minutes of moderate to vigorous physical activity daily.
Every day, that sounds like a lot.
It does, but it can be broken up. And it can be structured, like team sports, or completely unstructured, just running around, jumping, dancing, swimming.
Right.
Active play counts. And a great tip is for parents to join in these activities whenever possible, making a shared family experience, not a chore for the kids.
Okay, that makes it more manageable. What else?
Second, brain breaks. Implement short, active brain breaks. After periods of sedentary time, say 30 to 60 minutes of homework or screen time. These can be just a quick walk around the house, a short dance party, some stretching. The goal is to reset the brain, improve blood flow and oxygen, and support continued focus. Parents can initiate these breaks for the whole family. Okay, everyone, 5-minute wiggle break.
I like wiggle break. That sounds fun.
It should be fun. Then third, while it wasn't exclusively detailed in the physical activity snippets of the source, healthy nutrition is obviously a crucial component of overall well-being and mental health. They go hand in hand. The focus should be on incorporating plenty of fruits, vegetables, whole grains, lean protein sources, nuts, and seeds into daily meals, fueling the brain properly. And involving children in meal planning and preparation can be a great way to foster healthy eating habits.
Makes sense. And the last piece for physical well-being.
Finally, adequate sleep. Prioritizing sufficient sleep is paramount. It's crucial for overall well-being and makes it much easier for children and adults to cope with daily pressures and stress. Establishing consistent bedtime routines for children is key, and importantly, parents modeling healthy sleep patterns themselves sends a powerful message. Lead by example.
It's clear that the body and brain are so intimately connected, and that physical activity isn't just about fitness, but directly impacts cognitive function. That's a powerful connection. So if physical health fuels the brain, what about the emotional and psychological environment? The guide calls mental and emotional health the bedrock of resilience and learning. Why is this so foundational, especially during childhood and adolescence?
You're absolutely right. Mental and emotional health are foundational. Childhood and adolescence are truly critical stages for mental health. This is precisely when rapid brain growth and development are happening, and a vast array of cognitive and social-emotional skills are being acquired. It's a period of intense construction, mentally speaking. And good mental health isn't just the absence of a diagnosed mental health condition. It's much broader. It signifies a child's positive quality of life, their ability to function effectively at home, in school, with their peers, and within their communities. It's about thriving.
So it's about overall well-being, not just avoiding problems.
Exactly. And the quality of the relationships and environments in which children and adolescents grow up, whether that's at home, in school, or even increasingly in digital spaces, profoundly shapes their well-being and development. Safe, stable, and nurturing relationships and environments provide a robust foundation for a child's mental and physical health. They create the optimal opportunities for kids to grow and thrive. Conversely, early negative experiences, things like exposure to violence, bullying, parental mental illness, significant poverty, these significantly increase the risk of mental health challenges. And if these challenges are left unaddressed, mental health conditions can severely interfere with healthy development, potentially leading to problems that persist well into adulthood. It casts a long shadow.
So the environment really sculpts their emotional foundation.
It really does. Mental well-being truly functions as the enabling ecosystem for all other skill growth. Think of it like fertile soil. Emotional stability creates the optimal internal environment for all other learning and skill acquisition. The emphasis in the guide on safe, stable, and nurturing relationships and environments highlights this direct relationship. A supportive emotional ecosystem is an absolute prerequisite for cognitive and social emotional skill development. Without this foundational stability, any efforts to build those other skills, critical thinking, creativity, will be significantly hampered. You can't learn effectively if you don't feel safe and supported. And again, the guide offers practical habit examples for children and parents to foster this bedrock of well-being. Firstly, emotional regulation and self-awareness. Help children identify, understand, and accurately label their emotions.
Like the mood meter you mentioned earlier.
Exactly, that's a great tool. Or just using simple language like, you look mad, or you seem frustrated right now. Naming it helps manage it. And then teach practical self-regulation strategies, taking deep breaths, engaging in positive self-talk like, I know I can handle this, or learning to seek social support when feeling overwhelmed. Secondly, stress management. Encourage children to develop healthy coping mechanisms for everyday stressors and also more significant challenges. Life will always have stress. Promote self-care practices like getting adequate sleep, engaging in enjoyable activities, spending time in nature. These are vital components of managing stress effectively.
Building that resilience toolkit early.
Precisely. Thirdly, supportive environments. Create predictable routines for children, consistent meal times, bedtime rituals, homework schedules. This provides that crucial sense of stability and security we talked about, and foster a home environment that is safe, non-judgmental, and emotionally supportive. A place where children feel comfortable and encouraged to share their thoughts and feelings freely without fear of criticism. Finally, strong relationships. Actively work on strengthening relationships with family members and friends. This requires conscious effort sometimes. Engage in cooperative play. Have unstructured fun time together. These moments build strong bonds and lay the groundwork for healthy relationships throughout life. Family meals, for instance, can offer invaluable opportunities for connection and just checking in with each other about the day.
It sounds like creating that safe, connected space is job number one for parents.
It really is. This provides the essential groundwork. So once we have that solid foundation of well-being in place, how do we actually go about building these irreplaceable skills step by step as children grow?
It's powerful to think of well-being as the soil from which all other capabilities grow. That makes so much sense. Now, let's look at the practical long-term plan. The guide explains that cultivating these capabilities is a continuous journey, not a singular event. I like that framing. It requires small, consistent habits integrated into daily life, and it emphasizes scaffolding building skills gradually and parental co-participation, which I think is key. Parents are learning too. Let's start with the youngest group in the guide, our curious explorers, ages 7 to 9. This is a period of rapid brain development, as you mentioned. What key characteristics define this age, and what specific habits can children and parents focus on?
Right, this foundational stage, the curious explorer from ages 7 to 9, is indeed a critical phase. It's often called middle childhood. As you said, there's rapid brain development happening, including significant synaptic pruning. The brain is refining its connections based on experiences. The environment really shapes this. Children at this age are transitioning from being dependent preschoolers to young individuals who start taking a more active, independent role in their family and community. Their thoughts start to become more abstract, though still quite concrete overall. Their behaviors and emotions become more controlled, and their decisions show increasing independence. They gain cognitive control, improving their ability to focus, ignore distractions, and process information more effectively. Emotionally, they become more aware of their own feelings and genuinely begin to consider the feelings of others. This is where empathy and a nascent sense of morality really start developing.
So they're starting to see beyond themselves a bit more.
Exactly. And while they're still largely concrete thinkers, they're beginning to grasp more abstract concepts and can distinguish between fact and fantasy with greater ease than younger children. So for these curious explorers, here are some key habits for the children themselves, along with strategies for parental co-growth, because it's a partnership. First, for emotional intelligence, we want to build that fundamental emotional vocabulary and understanding. Daily emotion check-ins. Using simple language or maybe that visual mood meter we talked about helps children identify, understand, and label their feelings. Encourage them to say if they feel mad, sad, scared, happy, frustrated. Story empathy. When reading books or watching movies together, pause and discuss the character's feelings. Ask things like, how do you think that character is feeling right now? Why do you think they feel that way? Emotion regulation practice. Introduce basic coping strategies for strong emotions. Simple things like taking 3 deep breaths or counting down slowly from 5 when they feel frustrated or overwhelmed. Give them tools.
I love the idea of the mood meter for daily check-ins. It makes the abstract concept of emotions so much more tangible and less scary for young kids. What about critical thinking at this age? How do you introduce something that sounds so formal, like critical thinking, in a playful way for a 7 to 9-year-old?
That's precisely the challenge, and the guide really leans into play in everyday activities here. You don't need worksheets. For critical thinking, the focus is on developing foundational logic and problem-solving skills through everyday interactions, sorting and categorizing. Engage them in activities where they group toys or household items based on different attributes, color, size, shape, what it's used for. This helps them recognize patterns and build categories in their minds. Puzzle play. Encourage engagement with various puzzles. Simple wooden puzzles, age-appropriate jigsaws, maybe even basic Sudoku for the older end of this range. These build problem-solving, pattern recognition, and patience. Riddle solving. Regularly introduce and solve simple riddles together. This encourages them to think logically and make deductions in a fun way. What-if questions. Foster a habit of asking what-if questions about daily curiosities or hypothetical scenarios. What if cats could talk? What if we tried building a tower out of only pillows? It encourages imaginative and logical thought.
What if questions are powerful?
Yeah.
They open up so many possibilities, and that naturally leads to creative innovation. How do we nurture that spark beyond just, drawing or painting?
Right, creativity is much broader than just traditional art. For creative innovation at this age, we're looking to encourage divergent thinking, generating multiple ideas and making them comfortable with exploration and mess. Open-ended play. Designate a makerspace or just a corner at home. Stock it with versatile building materials, blocks, Legos, cardboard boxes, paints, crayons, pipe cleaners, fabric scraps, safe recyclable items. The key is freedom to explore, create, and embrace the messes. It's about the process, not a perfect end product. Story creation. Use things like story cubes, dice with pictures, or just simple verbal prompts. Once upon a time, there was a brave squirrel who, to encourage children to craft unique narratives, blending imaginative elements with a simple logical flow. Nature exploration. Take regular walks outdoors, even just in the backyard or a local park. Encourage them to observe closely, ask questions, why are the leaves changing color? And find creative inspiration for the natural world. Show me how it works. When children create something, a drawing, a block tower, or a pretend game, encourage them to explain their creative process and the thinking behind it. Ask open-ended questions like, tell me more about this part, or show me how you made it do that.
That show me how it works prompt is great. It values their thinking process, not just the thing they make.
Exactly. It builds their metacognition, their thinking about thinking.
Okay, so we've covered EI, critical thinking, creativity. What about adaptability and collaboration? I remember trying the river crossing game with my kids. It was pure chaos at first, but then eventually you saw them really start to strategize together. It's fascinating how a simple game can build these complex skills.
Those moments of productive chaos are exactly what we're aiming for. That's where the learning happens. For adaptability and collaboration in this 7 to 9 age group, the focus is on teamwork and flexible problem solving within a fun, low-stakes environment. Cooperative games. Engage in games that require teamwork, not just competition. Building a fort together, playing mirror mirror where they have to copy movements exactly, or working as a team to keep a beach ball from touching the ground. Simple problem-solving challenges. Present age-appropriate group challenges, like that river crossing game you mentioned, where children must work together using limited rocks, like cardboard pieces or placemats, to get everyone across a designated river, the floor. Role-playing. Encourage collaborative role-playing scenarios, pretending to be veterinarians running an animal hospital, chefs in a kitchen, explorers on a mission. They have to work together towards a common goal. Brainstorming solutions. For small daily obstacles or disagreements, we both want the same toy. Ask guiding questions like, what are some different ways we could solve this problem together? Or what could we do differently next time? Encourage collective problem solving.
It sounds like play is really the work of childhood at this stage, the main way these skills develop.
Absolutely. Play is fundamental. And parental involvement is key here too, not directing the play, but facilitating and participating. So for parental co-growth during this phase, it's all about modeling the behaviors you want to see, encouraging their efforts, and providing the right environment. Create predictable routines. Establish those consistent routines for meals, bedtime, homework. This provides stability and security, reducing stress and freeing up mental energy for learning and exploration. Model emotional openness. Share your own feelings appropriately and constructively. Instead of just getting angry, maybe say, I'm feeling really frustrated right now, because this teaches children healthy ways to articulate their own emotions. Emotion coaching. Practice what's called emotion coaching. This means acknowledging, naming, and validating your child's emotions, even the difficult ones, and helping them understand the need behind the emotion. Use statements like, wow, I see you have some big feelings right now, or it makes sense that you feel sad because your tower fell down. Ask open-ended questions. Shift from yes-no questions, did you have fun, to open-ended inquiries that prompt deeper thought and sharing. What was the most fun part of your day? Tell me more about that drawing. Provide unstructured playtime. Protect that free time. Ensure children have ample time that isn't scheduled or directed by adults. This unstructured time is crucial for allowing their minds to wander, process ideas, be bored, which fuels creativity, and independently explore their imaginations. Model critical thinking. When faced with everyday problems or decisions, what should we have for dinner? Which route should we take? Verbalize your thought process out loud. What are our options here? If we do this, then what might happen? Encourage children to ask questions and explore answers together, even if you don't know the answer immediately. Look it up together.
That modeling piece feels so important. Showing, not just telling.
It's incredibly powerful. This foundational stage really builds crucial mental and emotional muscle. As children mature, their thinking naturally deepens and their world expands. So let's move on to the next phase in the guide. The emerging thinker phase, typically ages 10 to 12.
Okay, so we've nurtured the curious explorer. Now, as they become emerging thinkers between 10 and 12, what new cognitive and emotional capacities start to emerge? And how do the habits need to evolve for them and their families?
Right, during this emerging thinker phase, ages 10 to 12, children continue to develop their cognitive and emotional capacities quite significantly. It's a real bridge period. They become increasingly capable of thinking in more abstract ways. They can start grappling with concepts like justice, fairness, or complex social dynamics in a deeper way. They can more reliably see situations from another person's perspective and demonstrate genuine empathy for others' experiences and feelings. Their theory of mind is strengthening. Their logical thinking skills also strengthen considerably. They become better at using verbal abilities to resolve differences and problems effectively, rather than resorting to physical reactions or simple demands.
So, more talking it out.
Hopefully. Yes, more capacity for that. Children in this age group often become more focused on their individual areas of interest too. Their unique strengths become more apparent, and they often show a strong drive for mastery in their chosen pursuits, whether it's sports, music, coding, art. Now, peer influence definitely grows stronger. Friendships outside the immediate family become more important. However, adults, parents, teachers, coaches still remain very important role models and sources of guidance. They also develop a more internalized sense of conscience, a clearer understanding of right and wrong, based on internal values, not just external roles. And they're generally increasingly able to tolerate failure and losing in competitive situations, though they might still need some adult support and coaching through disappointments.
That's a lot of growth happening in those couple of years.
It really is. So the habits for this phase need to become more sophisticated to match their developing abilities. For emotional intelligence, we're building on that earlier foundation by refining their self-awareness and social awareness. Advanced emotion labeling. Encourage them to expand their emotional vocabulary beyond basic terms. Help them identify and use more nuanced words like frustrated, anxious, elated, disappointed, conflicted, empathetic. Perspective-taking discussions. Actively discuss different perspectives and feelings in various situations. Use real-life events, news stories, or characters in movies or books. Ask probing questions like, whose perspective is being told here? How might someone else involved tell this story differently? Kindness and understanding practice. Create deliberate opportunities for acts of kindness and community involvement, if possible. Discuss how these actions impact others' feelings and contribute to overall well-being. Connect actions to emotional impact. Active listening practice. Encourage them to truly listen to and understand others' viewpoints before formulating their own responses. Practice patience and empathy in conversations, trying to understand why someone holds a certain view.
It's interesting how the focus shifts from simply identifying their own emotions to really trying to understand others' perspectives and motivations. That feels like a huge leap in social and emotional intelligence.
It is a huge leap. It's moving from egocentric to more sociocentric thinking.
When it comes to critical thinking for this age, what's a fun way to push them beyond basic puzzles and into more strategic thought? How do we challenge them appropriately?
Absolutely, it's about adding layers of complexity and strategy. We want to engage their developing logical and strategic minds without making it feel like schoolwork. For critical thinking at 10-12, strategic board games. Engage in board games that demand planning, strategy, and anticipating future outcomes. Think classics like chess, checkers, or more modern strategy games like Settlers of Catan, Cluedo, Codenames, Risk, or even Mastermind. These are fantastic for developing foresight, resource management, and adaptable strategies. Logic puzzles. Introduce and maybe work through logic puzzles together initially. Things like grid puzzles, logic grids, nonograms, or Kenkan puzzles. These compel children to use deductive reasoning and systematic thinking in a structured way. Mini debates. Structure informal mini debates on topics that interest them, maybe screen time limits, environmental issues, fairness in sports. Encourage them to articulate their thoughts clearly, listen respectfully to different perspectives, and importantly, be open to revising their views when presented with compelling arguments or evidence. It's less about winning and more about the process of reasoned argument, independent research. Encourage them to research topics that genuinely interest them. Crucially, emphasize the importance of using reliable sources and discuss what makes a source reliable. Cross-referencing information from multiple sources and evaluating the credibility of the material they find online or elsewhere. Start building those media literacy skills.
Mini debates sound like a great way to build confidence and the ability to articulate and defend a point of view respectfully. And the research skills are so necessary today. And for creative innovation at this stage, are we talking about giving them more sophisticated tools, or is it more about pushing their thinking in new directions?
It's actually a bit of both. We want to encourage deeper thinking and introduce tools that can facilitate more complex creations. For creative innovation, for emerging thinkers, challenging norms, encourage them to question why things are done a certain way at home, at school, in the world. Ask them to brainstorm alternative approaches or solutions. This fosters a mindset of challenging conventional wisdom, which is key to innovation. Why do we always eat dinner at 6? Is there a better way to organize homework? What's next thinking? After they complete a creative project, a story, a drawing, a model, prompt them with questions that encourage iterative thinking. That's great. What are you going to try next with it? Or, if you were to do it again, what would you do differently? This promotes continuous improvement and experimentation, connecting unrelated concepts. Encourage children to identify connections between seemingly unrelated ideas or concepts. This is a hallmark of deep creative thinking and novel problem solving. You can play games like asking them to design a new gadget combining features of 2 random objects, or write a story connecting 2 unrelated themes, digital creative tools. Introduce and let them explore age-appropriate online tools that foster digital creativity and storytelling. Things like PicMonkey or Canva for basic graphic design, PictoChart for creating infographics, or Storybird for combining images and text into narratives. These tools open up new avenues for expression.
I can see how using those digital tools could really expand their creative horizons beyond paper and crayons. It meets them where they often are online. Now, as they navigate increasingly complex social circles at school and more demanding tasks, how do adaptability and collaboration evolve for these emerging thinkers? What do those habits look like?
These skills become absolutely crucial for navigating group dynamics in school projects, sports teams, and friendships, as well as tackling more abstract problem-solving tasks. For adaptability and collaboration at 10-12. Complex group challenges. Engage them in activities that require group problem solving with limited resources or specific constraints. Things like building the tallest freestanding tower using only balloons and tape, or completing a to-do scavenger hunt with increasingly difficult collaborative tasks. Nonverbal communication games. Play games that specifically emphasize nonverbal communication and interpretation. For example, the Color Teams game, where they find group members by a colored spot on their forehead without speaking, or challenge them to line up in order of birthday or height in complete silence. It forces reliance on nonverbal cues and cooperation. Problem-solving skits. Give small groups a few random household items, like a spatula, a sock, a paper cup, and challenge them to create and perform short skits that somehow incorporate all the items. This fosters creative problem-solving, quick thinking, and teamwork under constraints. Knot and unknot. This is a classic team-building activity. Have a group stand in a circle, reach across to grab hands with 2 different people, creating a human knot. Then they have to work together verbally and physically to untangle themselves into a single circle without letting go of hands. It promotes communication, patience, flexible thinking, and collaborative problem solving, and it's often quite hilarious.
The human knot sounds like organized chaos, but I can see how the communication required would be intense.
It really is. And for parental co-growth at this stage, The focus shifts towards validating their more complex feelings, discussing bigger issues, modeling critical thinking more explicitly, and encouraging their growing independence. Validate feelings deeply. Continue to acknowledge and respect your child's emotions, even when you don't agree with their perspective or actions. Use open-ended statements like, "Tell me more about what was going through your mind then," instead of potentially leading questions like, "Are you upset?" This encourages deeper emotional literacy and maintains trust. Discuss risky behaviors openly. Maintain open and honest communication about important, sometimes difficult topics like healthy relationships, peer pressure, substance use, online safety. Starting these conversations early and matter-of-factly builds a strong framework for navigating more complex situations as they get older. Model critical thinking in real-world scenarios. When watching the news, discussing current events, planning a family trip, or making a significant purchase, verbalize your own thought process more explicitly. Explain how you weigh pros and cons. Consider various factors, evaluate sources of information, and think through potential consequences. Let them see critical thinking in action. Encourage independent thinking. Provide your child with increasing autonomy to make decisions and solve problems on their own when appropriate. Offer guidance and support as needed, but allow them the space to practice decision-making and learn from their own experiences, both successes and failures. Question assumptions and routines. Model the habit of questioning why things are done a certain way in your own life. Why do we always buy this brand? Is there a better option? Why do I always take this route? Involve your child's input in these discussions, demonstrating flexible thinking and a willingness to reconsider norms. Critically consume media together. Engage with media movies, TV shows, news articles, social media posts alongside your child. Discuss characters' choices, motivations, and feelings. Talk about the overall message, potential biases, or different perspectives presented in stories or news reports. Ask questions like, "What do you think the creator wanted us to feel?" Or, "Whose perspective is missing from this story?"
That last point about critically consuming media together feels incredibly important in today's world. Helping them become critical consumers, not just passive viewers.
It's a vital skill. So at this stage, we're seeing more sophisticated thinking and social interaction emerging. Now we move into the final phase covered by this guide's developmental journey, preparing them for early adulthood. The independent innovator, typically ages 13 to 18.
It's amazing how these skills build upon each other, layer by layer. The scaffolding approach really makes so much sense. So as children enter adolescence, becoming independent innovators from 13 to 18, there's obviously a profound shift towards independence, identity formation, and future focus. What are the defining changes that occur during these crucial teenage years, and how do the habits need to adjust again to foster these capabilities for young adults on the cusp of leaving home?
Right, this final phase, the independent innovator from 13 to 18, is a period of really profound biological, cognitive, psychosocial, and emotional change. It's adolescence. Teenagers increasingly struggle for independence, which can sometimes look like conflict, but is a necessary developmental step. They often spend less time with family and significantly more time with friends. Peer influence and the need for belonging within a peer group can peak during middle adolescence. As they mature through these years, they develop a stronger sense of their own individuality. They begin to clarify their personal values and beliefs, separate from their parents. Their focus shifts significantly towards the future, thinking about education, careers, relationships, their place in the world. Their decisions are increasingly based on their hopes, ideals, and future aspirations. Friendships, and often romantic relationships, become more stable, intimate, and complex. And while they become more emotionally and sometimes physically separated from their immediate family, many reestablish a more adult relationship with their parents. They start seeing them more as equals, people to seek advice from, rather than solely as authority figures to obey or rebel against.
That shift in the parent-child relationship is a big one.
It is, and it requires adjustment from both sides. So the habits for this age group really push towards advanced application of these skills and fostering greater autonomy and responsibility. For emotional intelligence, it's about navigating the complexities of their own inner world and their increasingly complex external relationships. Self-regulation and stress. Develop more advanced strategies for handling uncertainty, disappointment, and stress. This includes things like cognitive reframing, consciously changing how they interpret a negative interaction. Give an example. Maybe they're just having a bad day, it's not about me. Or actively seeking social support from trusted peers or adults when needed. Ethical decision-making. Engage in discussions about complex moral dilemmas and real-world ethical challenges. Encourage them to consider the broader impact of choices on diverse people, communities, and even society. Foster a deeper sense of responsibility and moral judgment beyond simple rule following, navigating complex interpersonal dynamics.
Practice skills needed for resolving conflicts constructively, understanding unspoken social cues or concerns, building and maintaining trust in diverse group settings, whether in school projects, extracurricular activities, part-time jobs, or social circles. These are real-world relationship skills.
It seems like adolescence is where these emotional intelligence skills really get put to the test in high-stakes social situations. Managing friendships, conflicts, group projects.
Absolutely. It's where the rubber meets the road for EI.
What about critical thinking? The information landscape they face online, the decisions they start making about their future, it's incredibly complex. How do we arm them to navigate all that?
That's a crucial question. We need to equip them with robust analytical tools. For critical thinking in the 13-18 range, it's about honing their analytical capabilities for a truly complex world. Advanced debating. If possible, encourage participation in structured debates or discussions on complex societal, political, or ethical issues. This pushes them to research thoroughly, construct evidence-based arguments, anticipate counter-arguments, and articulate their thoughts clearly and persuasively under pressure. Evaluating information and bias flaws. This is critical. Actively teach them to question sources of information, relentlessly news articles, social media, advertising, even academic sources. Help them identify potential biases, logical fallacies, flaws in data or arguments, and the importance of cross-referencing multiple viewpoints to form well-reasoned conclusions. Empower them to be savvy, critical consumers of information, not just passive recipients. Problem-solving real-world issues. Apply critical thinking frameworks to tangible real-world challenges. This could be analyzing a local community problem, planning a complex project, or navigating a significant personal dilemma. It involves clearly defining the core problem, generating multiple possible solutions, evaluating those options based on relevant criteria like feasibility, ethics, impact, and selecting and planning the most effective course of action.
I can see how evaluating information for bias and flaws is absolutely essential for teenagers these days, with so much sophisticated content and sometimes misinformation vying for their attention online. How does that advanced critical thinking translate to fostering creative innovation for this age group? Are we still talking about art supplies, or is it much more abstract and maybe entrepreneurial?
It definitely becomes much more abstract and potentially entrepreneurial at this stage. We're pushing them beyond just generating ideas to actually trying to implement them. For creative innovation, for independent innovators, breakthrough ideation, engage them in projects or challenges that require imagining entirely new solutions or fundamentally challenging established practices. Move beyond simple recombination of existing ideas towards truly novel thought. This could be designing a new app or service concept that solves a real-world problem they care about, or proposing a new approach to a school or community issue. Bridging what if to how to. This is crucial. Practice not just having novel ideas, what if we could, but then devising practical, actionable steps for their implementation. Okay, how can we actually do that? What are the first steps? What resources would we need? Connect the imaginative vision with practical application, experimentation, and iteration. Explicitly encourage them to embrace making mistakes and rethinking approaches as an integral, necessary part of the creative and innovation process.
Help them understand that persistence, learning from failures, and the willingness to iterate are key to achieving breakthroughs. Remember Thomas Edison's quote about finding 10,000 ways that won't work? That's the resilient mindset we want to foster.
That idea of learning from mistakes, viewing failure as data, is so liberating and so crucial for true innovation. It takes the pressure off needing to be perfect the first time.
Exactly. It shifts the focus from outcome to process and learning.
Finally, for this 13-18 age group, getting ready for college work and independent life, how do adaptability and collaboration prepare them specifically for that transition into the adult world?
This is where these meta skills, adaptability and collaboration, truly become defining characteristics for future success and well-being in adulthood. For adaptability and collaboration for young adults, lifelong learning mindset. Explicitly cultivate a deep sense of curiosity and a personal commitment to continuous learning and adaptation as a way of life. Encourage them to view change not as a threat, but as an opportunity for growth, actively seeking out new knowledge, skills, and experiences throughout their lives. Interdisciplinary projects. Encourage them to seek out and participate in projects in school, extracurriculars, or even personal pursuits that require collaboration across different skill sets, perspectives, and subject domains. This simulates real-world team environments where diverse expertise is needed, fostering cross-functional problem-solving, service learning projects. Engage in community service projects that require significant teamwork, practical problem-solving, and adaptability to real-world constraints and unforeseen challenges. Organizing a charity event, participating in an environmental cleanup, tutoring younger students, these build crucial skills while contributing positively. Mentoring and leadership. Encourage them to take on roles that involve guiding younger peers, leading group initiatives, captaining a team, or organizing activities. This helps them develop leadership skills, social influence, responsibility, and the ability to motivate and coordinate others.
It sounds like pushing them gently out of their comfort zone into these collaborative, real-world scenarios is key at this stage.
Yes, with appropriate support, of course. And for parental co-growth, during adolescence, the focus shifts again. It's less about directing and more about guiding, facilitating, and transitioning the relationship. Help anticipate changes. Discuss the ongoing physical, cognitive, social, and emotional changes associated with adolescence openly. Reassure them that these shifts, while sometimes confusing or challenging, are normal and healthy developmental processes. Normalize the experience. Maintain open communication. Continue to foster that open, non-judgmental communication channel about sensitive topics. Reinforce that home is a safe space for them to express their thoughts, feelings, worries, and concerns without fear of immediate judgment or overreaction. Listen more than you talk. Be supportive with clear, reasonable expectations. Set clear limits and communicate reasonable expectations for behavior, school engagement, responsibilities at home, and media use. But simultaneously, gradually expand opportunities for greater independence in decision-making as your child demonstrates responsibility and maturity. It's a slow release. Discuss consequences of risky behaviors proactively. Engage in calm, proactive conversations about the potential short-term and long-term consequences of risky behaviors, like substance use, unsafe driving, academic dishonesty. Help them think through scenarios and practice decision-making before they encounter high-pressure situations. Honor independence and individuality. Support their growing autonomy and their unique identity, even if it differs from your own expectations. Respect their choices where appropriate. Remind them consistently that you are there to help and provide guidance whenever needed, fostering a sense of secure attachment even as they explore independence. Model reasoned thinking. When discussing complex current events, societal issues, or even personal dilemmas you face, verbalize your own ethical considerations and thought processes. Explain how you weigh competing interests, consider long-term implications, and strive for fairness, demonstrating thoughtful, value-based decision-making. Foster autonomy and choice. Provide opportunities for them to make significant decisions related to their education, future plans, part-time jobs, or personal interests. Crucially, allow them to learn from their experiences, including failures, as this builds confidence, resilience, and decisive thinking in the long run. Resist the urge to always rescue them.
That's a really comprehensive picture of how development evolves and how parental support needs to evolve alongside it. This whole plan highlights how development is truly a continuous, iterative process. But as you said earlier, just having a list of habits isn't enough. How do families actually do this? How do they weave these practices into the already busy, often chaotic, everyday fabric of their lives?
That is the million-dollar question, isn't it? It's one thing to know what to do, quite another to consistently integrate it.
Exactly. It needs that conscious integration you mentioned, not just isolated activities squeezed in here and there. And it sounds like parents play such a pivotal role in making it happen. The guide talks about creating predictable routines, which we've touched on, but also about something equally vital, maybe even counterintuitive, unstructured time. How do these seemingly opposite concepts, routine and freedom, actually work together to nurture growth?
It's true, they might seem contradictory, but the balance between them is crucial. Establishing those predictable routines, consistent meal times, bedtime rituals, designated homework periods, provides children with a vital sense of stability and security. This predictability actually helps reduce stress and frees up mental space. When kids know what to expect, their brains aren't constantly trying to figure out the basic structure of the day, which allows more energy for learning, creativity, and exploration.
So the routine creates a safe harbor, essentially.
Exactly, a secure base. Conversely, ensuring ample unstructured time is equally vital. This is free time, unscheduled time, where children can daydream, let their minds wander, process ideas subconsciously, and engage in independent exploration without constant external stimulation or adult direction. This kind of unguided play and thought is absolutely critical for fostering creativity, self-discovery, and problem-solving skills. It's when novel ideas often emerge.
So structure provides the safety, and unstructured time provides the space for exploration.
Precisely. Structure provides that secure base from which children can confidently explore and be creative during their unstructured periods.
It's a balanced ecosystem that maximizes both well-being and the development of these essential skills. Too much structure can stifle creativity. Too little can create anxiety. Finding that balance is key.
I can see the importance of that balance, especially when the world outside their home can feel so fast-paced and overscheduled. But communication is also clearly at the heart of fostering these skills. What are some of the most effective communication tools parents have in their toolkit, according to the guide?
Well, the guide highlights two simple yet incredibly powerful tools. One is the art of asking open-ended questions. These are the questions that typically begin with why, how, or what if. They can't be answered with a simple yes or no. They actively encourage children to think more deeply, to reflect on their experiences, and to articulate their thoughts and feelings much more comprehensively. Instead of, did you have a good day? Try, what was the most interesting thing that happened today, and why did you find it interesting?
It invites a story, not just a one-word answer.
Exactly. And coupled with this is active listening. This isn't just waiting for your turn to talk. It means making eye contact when appropriate, putting down distractions, avoiding interruptions, and truly making an effort to hear out what a child is communicating, both their words and the feelings behind them. This practice builds immense trust. It encourages children to share their genuine thoughts and feelings without fear of being judged, dismissed, or immediately fixed. When you genuinely listen, you show your child that their perspective, their thoughts, their feelings are valued. And that's foundational for their emotional intelligence, their critical thinking, and your relationship.
Simple yet profound. It's about truly engaging with their world, not just managing them. And what about the impact of parental behavior beyond just words? We know kids learn so much from observation. The guide mentions modeling desired behaviors and embracing imperfection. Why is what parents do often so much more impactful than just what they say? And why is embracing mistakes, both theirs and yours, so crucial?
You've hit on a core truth of parenting and learning. Children are always watching, always learning from our actions. Do as I say, not as I do, rarely works. How parents handle their own emotions, how they approach problem solving in daily life, how they communicate with their partner or others, all of this provides a powerful, lived blueprint for their children. Modeling emotional openness, like saying, wow, I'm feeling really overwhelmed right now, I need to take a few deep breaths.
Yeah.
Or demonstrating critical thinking when making a family decision. Or exhibiting adaptability when plans inevitably change. These actions are far more impactful than simply telling children they should be emotionally intelligent or adaptable. They see it, they internalize it.
Monkey see, monkey do, in the best possible way.
In the best way, yes. And furthermore, embracing mistakes and failures, both your child's and your own, as valuable learning opportunities, rather than as something shameful to be avoided or hidden, fosters incredible resilience and a growth mindset. This perspective is absolutely crucial for developing creative innovation, which requires risk-taking, and adaptability, which requires learning from setbacks. It encourages persistence and experimentation. If a child sees their parent try something new, maybe mess it up, learn from it, laugh about it, and then try again, they internalize that process. It makes it safe for them to try and fail too. It shifts the whole family paradigm from pursuing perfection to valuing progress and learning.
That idea of learning from mistakes and modeling that for our kids is so liberating, takes so much pressure off everyone. And the guide gives us permission, it seems, to leverage everyday moments for skill development. We don't need special classes or workbooks necessarily. What are some practical ways parents can turn routine tasks or moments into opportunities for growth?
It's absolutely about seeing the potential for growth everywhere, in the mundane moments of life. Skill development doesn't require elaborate setups or dedicated lesson time carved out of a busy schedule. Everyday activities offer abundant, natural opportunities for practice and growth. Think about it. Family meals can become natural discussion points for emotional intelligence. How did everyone feel about their day today? What was challenging? What went well? Or critical thinking. Let's talk about that news story we saw earlier. What are the different viewpoints? Car rides can be opportunities for what-if questions, riddle solving, or discussing observations. Performing household chores can turn into mini problem-solving challenges. How can we organize this messy cabinet more efficiently together? Or opportunities for collaboration. Let's tackle cleaning the living room as a team. Even watching a movie or TV show together can be a springboard for thoughtful consideration about characters' motivations. EI. Plot inconsistencies, critical thinking, or ethical dilemmas presented, moral reasoning.
So it's about being intentional in those everyday moments.
Exactly. The key is infusing learning into these routine tasks and interactions. Turning a simple chore into a small problem-solving challenge or infusing a walk with creative observation prompts. seamlessly integrates learning into daily life. It's about making learning an organic, ubiquitous part of family interaction, rather than a scheduled, separate activity that feels like extra work for everyone. Look for the teachable moments that are already there.
It's about seeing the potential for growth everywhere. That feels much more achievable. And one last crucial piece on integration. The guide talks about celebrating effort and progress, not just outcomes. Why is this distinction so important for building intrinsic motivation and resilience?
This distinction is incredibly important, perhaps one of the most crucial for fostering intrinsic motivation and a resilient, growth-oriented spirit. When we consistently praise specific efforts, strategies, and good tries, the process, rather than focusing solely on successful outcomes like grades or winning, we build genuine self-esteem and encourage children to persevere through challenges. For instance, instead of just saying, "Great job getting an A," which focuses on the outcome, you might say, "I saw how hard you worked on studying for that test. You really stuck with the difficult sections, and your effort paid off." This emphasizes the process that led to the outcome.
So you're praising the things they can control their effort, their strategies.
Precisely. Recognizing and validating their emotional journey through a challenge, that looked really frustrating, but you kept trying different approaches. And the learning process itself reinforces that development is an ongoing, iterative journey. It teaches children that growth is about the effort, the learning, the trying, the getting back up, not just the final score or product. This encourages continuous engagement and growth, empowering them to keep exploring, learning, and trying, especially when things inevitably get difficult. It fuels that internal drive. So to kind of wrap up our deep dive here, as the landscape of work continues its rapid transformation, driven largely by artificial intelligence, it's clear that these uniquely human capacities we've discussed, emotional connection, complex problem-solving, creative innovation, ethical reasoning, adaptive learning, remain fundamentally irreplaceable. These capabilities truly represent a profound competitive and, frankly, human advantage that no algorithm can fully replicate. Nurturing these essential skills, as we've explored, is really a long-term endeavor. It's much more akin to a marathon than a sprint. The most impactful approach involves that consistent integration of small, repeatable habits into the daily rhythm of family life. Not grand gestures, but daily practices. And when these efforts are supported by active parental involvement, where parents model these behaviors and consciously grow alongside their children and nurtured within a supportive, emotionally secure environment, these consistent efforts will cumulatively build an exceptionally strong foundation for the future. And ultimately, this isn't just about preparing children for the jobs of tomorrow. It's about empowering them to lead fulfilling, adaptable, collaborative, and ethically grounded lives in an increasingly complex and automated world. It's about nurturing their full humanity.
Wow, what a comprehensive deep dive. Thank you. We've journeyed all the way from understanding AI's impact on the future of work to identifying those irreplaceable human capabilities, exploring the foundational role of well-being, and then mapping out a really practical, age-specific roadmap for cultivating these skills in our children. The actionable insights from this guide for parents and guardians truly make this feel like a shortcut to being well informed on such a critical topic. So, as you, our listener, go about your day, maybe think about this. If the goal is to raise children who don't just use technology effectively, but who truly lead with their humanity in the future, what's one small, consistent habit you can integrate or perhaps strengthen within your family life starting this week to nurture one of those irreplaceable skills we talked about? Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Keep exploring, keep learning, and keep asking the big questions.